something that we are super excited about, me mostly, is that we are getting our garden fence ready. So we have built a garden before, we as in Lo and I. Blake had several truckloads of dirt brought in and we got it all leveled out. It was on top of a big hill and we got it all prepped and ready, and Lo and I got all of our starter plants and veggies and we went to town and planted those things. And they actually grew quite successfully. The problem was the deer. We absolutely love our deer around here, but they are a protected species. I'm very glad they're protected, but that being so means that we have tons of them and they like to eat absolutely everything. We did build a fence, but it was one that the deer could easily bypass, we found out later on. And every time something would grow, it would get eaten. And so I kind of set out to draw up the plans of what I wanted our garden to look like. And then Blake and Grayson went to town on how exactly they would execute the way I wanted it to look. Blake is very busy doing other projects on the land, and so we thought, okay, Grayson is our oldest son. He's always looking for work and projects to do. So we said we will pay him and his friend if they wanted to build it. And so they are actually doing that right now. And they're doing a really good job. Blake's been giving them tips anytime they need help, and they have been absorbing them and applying them. And I'm just super excited for the way it's turning out. And so with that said, now it's time to start planning what I'm going to be planting, where exactly it's going to go in the side of the fence, and the fun part is really beginning. Good morning. So I wanted to start the day off by hopefully imparting a little bit of encouragement to you. So every time I do either a knitting or a crochet project, I get lots of comments sharing with me either that one, they want to or have always wanted to learn how to crochet or knit, or that they do know how to crochet but they can't make anything past a blanket. After speaking with you, I went out to find a project that looked complicated but was actually super easy. So here it is. Don't let the way it looks scare you. Most of this is just taking a lot of squares and sewing them together. Definitely doesn't look that way, but I promise you it is super easy. Now, if you do choose this project, it's not gonna look exactly the same. I know I probably should have followed it to the T, given I was using it as an example, but I did use a different hook size and because I use a different yarn, and I also chose to increase and decrease it in different areas because I wanted to make it look like a lot of the shapes that I prefer. But if you do choose to follow it to the T, it is still a really super cute pattern. So I'm gonna link that there. One of the reasons why I wanted to encourage you to do so is because I think it's really good, at least for me, my mental health. I've shared with you that I suffer from OCD and I have a lot of racing thoughts and things like that. And so doing something with my hands continually anytime I sit down is super helpful. So I thought maybe that might be something you would want to try to get into if that's something that you deal with. I started crocheting, my mom taught me when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and as far as knitting went, I have wanted to learn how to knit forever. And so once the pandemic hit and I knew we'd be locked up for a while, I decided that I would use my time wisely, and I set out to teach myself how to do that. I mainly used YouTube videos for help and other resources, but yeah, YouTube was my main outlet. But since this is a crochet project, I thought I would link some of my favorite resources as far as crochet goes. All this is basically just to encourage you to maybe branch out, and it's really in hopes that you might find a hobby that might bring you as much joy as it brings me. So if this is something that you want to try, I would love to hear about it in the comment section. And if you do, I'd like for you to keep me updated. And I will say too, this is not sponsored at all. Honestly, the person who created this pattern doesn't even know that I'm sharing their link. So it's nothing like that. Like I said, it's just in hopes that you might find something that makes me as happy as hopefully it might make you.
Years ago, I remember beginning my antiquing journey and having no idea where to begin. I remember walking down the aisles feeling like I was swimming in a sea of unfamiliar territory. I knew the way I wanted my space to feel, I just had no idea how to execute it. I remember picking up pieces and liking a lot of them, but having no idea how in the world they would all fit together. It wasn't until I began to regularly immerse myself in the atmosphere of old things that I really started to understand what my style was and how in the world I would fit it all together. I started to recognize that there was something about the patina of old stoneware, aged natural wood furniture pieces, and warm metals like copper and brass really started to steal my attention. There was definitely a lot of trial and error. Sometimes it felt as scientific as throwing a piece of spaghetti at the wall and seeing whether or not it stuck. Nowadays with Pinterest, it can save a lot of time and money. If you're feeling stuck or simply trying to identify your style in the world of design, utilizing Pinterest can be super helpful. I'd recommend just doing a home search on Pinterest and compiling together a group of images that you really like. Don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. Just start pinning pictures that you feel attracted to. Once you've got a pretty good grouping started, begin to try to identify any repetition. Is there a certain color of walls that you see repeated over and over? Is it dark and moody or light and airy? Just learning your taste is a great place to begin. Remaining on the frame train we've been on lately, often I find myself in a situation where I have a piece of artwork and I want to pair it with a frame, but the artwork doesn't fit with it. And I also shared with you that I love to wrap the interior of the frame in fabric, so I thought this time I would show you exactly how I do that. Sometimes your frame will come with a piece of cardboard inside of it. If it doesn't, you can always cut out a piece of a shipping box or the side of an old cereal box. To get the correct size, you can simply remove the glass, set it on side of the piece of cardboard and trace. Once you've got your cardboard piece cut out, you'll lay it on top of the fabric of your choice. Cut out an extra inch or so around it and then remove its corners. Glue around those flaps and tightly wrap the glued portion of your fabric around your cardboard. Let that dry for a few hours depending on what type of glue you used. I used E6000 and the hard work is complete.
Take, ooh.